Here's Ed Bernstein.
Well, there is magic in the air, and particularly at the Westgate Hotel, and with me is Jen Kramer. You know, it's got to be unusual for women to get into magic. Every magician that you see is basically male, correct?
Sure.
Right? And I know as a father, and we were talking about this before the show started, that it was always great to try to do tricks with my girls. I mean, they loved it, but it seems that it's rare when a young lady actually grows up to be a magician.
It's true, and there are some wonderful women doing great work in magic who I really want to recognize, but it has definitely been a historically male-dominated field, for sure. When people think of a magician, they think of a man, maybe with a top hat, a bunny rabbit,
Right.
and I think, a woman's not the first image that comes to mind, but I love being a woman in magic, I love being a magician, and I hope that magic, I see it moving in a direction where more women are getting involved, and I love that. I always want to be supporting fellow women in magic.
I've spoken to quite a number of magicians, and some of the men will admit that they got into magic to kind of impress girls. Right now, how does it work the opposite way?
Oh, that's very funny. I've heard that story too.
Huh?
I think for me, when I first got started in magic, I was 10 years old at the time, and I just loved it. I got a book for my birthday called The Royal Road to Card Magic, and it just completely piqued my interest. I started performing anywhere and everywhere I could, and I think at first, part of the motivation is just, oh, this is cool. This is something that I can show my parents and adults who seem to know everything. The grown-ups seem to know all.
You can fool them.
And yet, you can fool them.
Yeah.
And I think as I developed as a magician, the motivations for doing magic changed in that I think it became really about connecting with people, about sharing that experience of wonder. I think that's what really keeps me excited about magic every day.
So what piqued your interest when you were 10? It was just something you saw on TV, or did you go to a show, or what was it?
So for my 10th birthday, my uncle gave me a book called The Royal Road to
Right.
Card Magic, still one of my all-time favorites. And it's a book that really taught you the fundamentals of card magic and so much that you could do with cards. And so soon after that, I went to magic camp. I joined a young magicians
You went to
group based
magic
in New
camp?
York. Oh, yeah.
Now, where is Magic Camp?
So it's currently located in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. It's Hannon's Magic Camp. And
Outside Philadelphia.
Sure,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a great chance for young magicians to get together and to learn from more experienced magicians, the camp counselors, and really learn all sorts of magic, from close-up magic to stage magic, and have that community, which I love. I think magic really is a tight-knit community.
What was the first trick you learned?
Ooh. It was from the Royal Road to Card Magic, so
It was a card trick.
it was, yeah. Yeah.
And how much of learning is really dexterity in your fingers?
I think it depends on the particular trick, but there is a lot of practicing. I remember even as a kid, I would keep a deck of cards everywhere. Some people keep a pair of glasses in every room.
Right.
I'd keep a deck of cards, one in the living room, one in my backpack, one in my purse, one in the car, one here, one there, just so that any time there were those spare moments. You're in the dentist's office, you're waiting for your appointment, you have 3-4 minutes, you can just pull out a deck of cards and just practice, and I think those little moments really add up.
So when you say practice, is there a basic move with the deck of cards that helps create the dexterity or the practice?
There are so many. And it's always exciting too, because this is something, especially now with the internet, you can see magicians posting videos all around the world of different variations that they'll come up with on different moves and different sleights, and so it's constantly evolving. There's always more that you can learn. I think like many fields, it's like the more you know that you don't know, the more you find out that there is to learn.
But you found your way to Yale.
Sure.
Now, I have to admit, you're the only person I've ever met that's gone to Yale for magic. Didn't even know that Yale had. I know they had a big theater department, right? And a very prestigious theater department at Yale.
So I was a theater studies major.
Right.
There wasn't a magic major. There wasn't a major in witchcraft and wizardry. So I figured theater was as close to majoring in magic as I could get. And there is so much overlap in theater and magic. A lot of my professors would allow and encourage me to incorporate magic in class presentations, which I loved and was appreciative of.
You're over at the Westgate.
Yes.
Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Saturday.
Sorry, Wednesday to Saturday.
Yep.
5 o'clock show.
5 o'clock.
In the same theater as George Wallace and the Sexy Show afterwards. That's a busy theater.
It is.
And it's kind of an intimate space, right?
It is.
So these close-up tricks work well as some of the bigger
That's right.
tricks you do.
What I love about the theater, and Westgate's an amazing place for so many reasons. The history, I mean, the property's celebrating its 50th anniversary this year.
Formerly the International,
That's
then
right.
subsequently the Hilton,
Exactly.
then Bally's, or MGM, then Bally's, now Westgate.
And just to think of all of the legendary performers, from Elvis Presley, who performed hundreds of shows on property, to Barbra Streisand, I'm so honored to have a chance to do the show at Westgate.
Right.
And in this room in particular, what I love is that it has all the production value of a huge theater. It has the lights, it has the sound, we have the LED screens. There's so many cool capabilities built into the theater, but it also has an intimacy to it. And I think the combination of that intimacy, feeling like you're really connecting up close with the audience, like they can see the magic right before their eyes, combined with the larger production elements, is exciting to me, because it means that we can incorporate some larger illusions, and we can also do some of the more sleight of hand-based magic.
I see you brought a deck of cards.
Did.
Not by accident. You know, a magician walks into a TV studio with a deck of cards, it means, hey, you got to perform.
I would love to, absolutely. So, would you go ahead, Ed, and reach out and pick out any card you'd like? It's okay if I see it. I've seen the trick before.
Oh. I'm glad you have. Okay, I like
anyone
this.
you like.
Ace of Hearts.
The Ace of Hearts. Very nice choice. And Ed, would you go ahead and sign your name right across the face of that Ace of Hearts?
Okay, yeah.
This is going to be very valuable on eBay. Terrific, and we'll show that to the camera up close. Everyone can see Ed's signature. And it's important that we have you sign it. That way you know that this is in fact your card.
The same Ace of Hearts.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. No funny business. We'll take your Ace of Hearts, and I'll do something kind of unconventional.
Okay.
I'll take the corner and bend it just like this. And Ed, you can see up close, you're only inches away, that we really truly are bending the corner of your card. And we're doing this so that we can actually tear the corner right off. And Ed, would you like to do the honors of tearing the corner off? Yeah, I'll get it started. Good. Rip it right off. Make sure that you really are tearing it.
Okay.
Now, Ed, this was no joke. You truly tore this corner off. You could feel it. You could hear it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Ed, we'll take the corner and I'll place it right inside my pocket, just like so.
Okay.
And then if we take it invisibly from the pocket, invisibly, 3, 2, 1, Ed, say go.
Go.
Watch this. Just like that. Fuse. Right back onto one card, Ed, with your signature.
All right.
Thank you. That's a souvenir, a present for you.
Love it.
Thank you.
You put it back together. I have some work at the house, maybe you can help with. So a trick like that, how long does it take you to perfect a trick?
Well, I think it's so important to go through the practicing process, because for the audience, and to really feel comfortable connecting with the audience, I think you have to get to the point where the sleights and the moves that you need to do come kind of second nature. And I remember Lance Burton was talking about this in your interview with him, about how something can be a difficult move or a difficult sleight, but after you practice it and you've done it, it's like tying your shoes. You just have done it so many times, and then you can really focus on connecting with the audience. So I think that practicing is so important, so that you can really be present and connect, which is what it's all about.
Right. So when you're trying to create a new trick, Jen, how do you visualize it? I mean, do you start with the end and work backward, or do you start in the beginning and work toward the end?
Sure. I think it depends on the particular trick, but what I'll often do is I'll think about what is the ideal situation. What's the ideal illusion that I want to create? You know, without thinking about the method of how we'll accomplish it, just what do we want the audience to see and experience? And then once we have an image of that in mind, then I can start thinking, okay, how do we make this happen practically? And I can work with magic friends and consultants and kind of come up with different possible ways to achieve that, and it might evolve over time. But for me, I think kind of thinking about what's the ideal situation and then kind of working on how to make that happen is often how it works.
And I'm sure there's often times that you're trying to imagine or visualize a trick and then you just can't get it to work.
And I think that comes back to the collaboration and how magic, you know, I see it being a very collaborative community. I know that in my experience, I've loved getting a chance to work with other magicians and to help them with things, and they'll help me with things. And I think just having someone to brainstorm with, having a magic community to consult with, where different people will have expertise in different areas. So maybe you're brainstorming about something, but you might be stuck on a particular thing, and then you might call up a friend who really has experience in that particular thing and can help you kind of overcome that hurdle that you might be facing.
When you talk about a magic community, is Las Vegas, you know, the best? And I'm not trying to just, talk about, something positive about Las Vegas, but I mean, is it really? It seems to me that there's more magicians, per capita living in Las Vegas than anywhere else in the world,
yes.
Right? I mean, and I know there's certain places and certain times where you magicians kind of get together and,
yes.
Have a drink with each other.
Sure. Right? I love Las Vegas, and it really is sort of the magic mecca, the magic capital of the world. Lance said it, and he's phenomenal. He's been an amazing role model to me through the years. I loved his show at the Monte Carlo, and I remember he mentioned on the show with you, he said, some people, they go out with their buddies on the lake, and they'll take a boat, and they'll bring some beers, and that's how they relax. I think for magicians, a lot of times it really is, we meet up and we'll share magic with each other, and that's how we have fun. That's how we bond and connect, and I love that. Yeah.
When you look around town, it seems that a lot of the magicians who are performing now, Penn Teller, Lance, several others, they're a little bit older, right? I mean, you represent a new generation of magicians.
Thank you.
What is the difference when you look at younger magicians coming up today compared to some of the, David Copperfields and Lance Burtons of the past?
Sure. Well, I've admired, there are so many magicians, I mean, from Penn Teller to Lance Burton to David Copperfield, David Blaine, who I've really admired, who have been these amazing role models to me, and I think to kind of the younger generation of magic growing up. They're incredible. I think some of the younger generation, we've had the internet, which I think is a helpful tool and resource. But I think styles of magic change. In the same way styles of clothing will change, and certain things will be in style and then go out of style, but then come back in style. And so I think that's the exciting thing about magic. And I also love that magic is something where age doesn't matter. I think that you can connect. If you're an 8-year-old and you love magic, and there's an 80-year-old who also loves magic, and you're at a magic convention, the 8-year-old and the 80-year-old, you can share magic together. It doesn't matter that there's 70+ years between you.
Right.
You can still share and connect over that common interest, that common bond.
And when you look back to that 10-year-old girl who was so, amazed to see magic, and then now you have all this experience and you know some of the answers and cues to, how tricks are performed. Have you lost some of that excitement, and are you, when you see a trick, are you most of the time you kind of figure out how it gets done?
I think as magicians, there are kind of certain fundamental things in magic. And so once you have that base of magic knowledge, I do think you end up knowing how most things are done. Now, there still are some things where, a magician will come along and invent something really revolutionary or put a new twist on something that hasn't been seen before. And I love that experience. I love the experience of kind of being fooled, of having that experience of wonder. I really do think wonder is what it's all about, kind of seeing the world through a new lens, the way that a kid would. I think that magic has this amazing ability to inspire wonder and to kind of transform people into the 5-year-old versions of themselves in the best way, where they're like, oh my gosh, and they just kind of see things in a new light. I love that, and so to answer your question, I still really connect with that experience of wonder. I think regardless of knowing how magic works, I think you still can feel that wonder, and I think there's also an appreciation when you see that a magician has worked hard to accomplish something, and you know what's involved in that. I think you really do deeply appreciate the process.
But do you allow yourself to sit there and have the wonder, or is it like you're trying to watch the technique, watch the trick, figure it out?
Sure. I mean, I think audiences, you see both types of people in, right? You can tell some people are just they're really focused on solving the problem. To
That's
them,
me.
It's all about
all the time. All the time. I'm always looking for the tell.
Right. And then I think there are other people who really, it's for them, it doesn't matter how it's done. They just want to sit back and experience the wonder. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way to be. For me, it's exciting to put magic together. It's exciting to think about how it works. But I also just love the experience of wonder, of kind of being able to just enjoy the magic for what it is.
Let's talk about what you're doing at the show. You're doing illusions and card and sleight of hand.
Sure.
Take me through the show.
Absolutely. We have a combination of larger illusions and sleight of hand pieces, and the show really focuses on audience participation.
Now, do you have an assistant? You know how all these male magicians have very attractive female assistants. Don't you have your own female assistant?
Well,
or you have a handsome young man assistant?
It is a one-woman show, but it is very much a team effort. And so I have worked with some terrific assistants who actually most have been male assistants, although some have been female as well. But the team effort of the show is another thing I love. The crew and the team at Westgate are fantastic, and I feel really grateful to be working with them.
Okay, so let's go through the dynamics of the show.
Yes.
Okay, 5 o'clock, Wednesday evening. What can I expect?
Sure. Well, it's a family-friendly show, so you can bring the whole family. It's a show that's not just for kids, but not just for adults. It's something that a 7-year-old can enjoy and a 70-year-old can enjoy, and you can really bring the whole family. There's magic, there's comedy, there's audience participation, as I mentioned, where every night show is a little bit different because every audience is a little bit different. And I love that. I love that you never know exactly what might happen based on who participates in the show. I think it really keeps things exciting.
Do you have, when you're watching somebody else perform an illusion, do you ever get stumped? Or can you kind of figure out that little, basic formula?
I mean, I think sometimes people come up with some new things that haven't been done, and absolutely, and I love that moment. I just, have a real appreciation for what they've done, and I think, wow, that's amazing. And I think, even if you have a lot of experience in magic, you can still be fooled by something new. And I think the field is constantly evolving, it's constantly growing. People are always coming up with new twists and new things. And even if you do know how something's done, for me, that doesn't ruin the experience at all. It just makes me appreciate what went into it.
Oftentimes you have this category now, mentalists that are doing, what do they call it? I don't want to call them tricks. What are they called?
Oh, sure, mentalism. Or mind reading. Sure.
Yeah, is that different than magic?
I think it overlaps a lot, and I do like mentalism because I think it sometimes...
Explain to the audience what it is.
So mentalism is really mind-reading magic. So it's magic that focuses on reading minds. You're thinking of something, and the magician will tell you, or the mentalist will tell you what it is that you're thinking of. And I think this can often be a way to kind of focus on things that are important to people. So a mentalist might say, think about the first person you ever kissed, or think about someone important in your life. And I do think that it allows for that connection, which I think is ultimately what magic and mentalism is all about, is connecting with people. So I think mentalism is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Let's go back to Yale. Yale,
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
You're in the theater department at Yale. Are you the only person there that's focusing on magic in that department?
So when I first got to Yale, I remember thinking this place is practically Hogwarts from Harry Potter. It has the Gothic architecture. It really kind of has that feeling. And so I thought there must be a magic society, a magic group already existing on campus. But at the time, there wasn't one. So I started a magic group. I found some other magicians floating around campus, and we started to meet regularly. We performed on campus and in the community. We were able to support each other. And the group, I'm really proud to say that they're going strong to this day. I love getting a chance to hear about what they're up to. Even after I graduated, we went on a joint trip with the Yale Magic Society and Magicians Without Borders, which is a group I'm super passionate about. I serve on their advisory board. And we went to India and performed magic in Mumbai and in rural Gujarat. These two magic groups that I care so much about coming together to do magic that hopefully really impacts people's lives in a positive way. So that's been rewarding.
Do you notice any difference between the audiences in different countries, where they're all just have the same sense of awe and wonderment?
I think that wonder is universal. I think the feeling of wonder is universal, but I do think that different audiences respond differently, even from night to night at the show. You'll have a Wednesday night crowd, and then you'll have a Thursday night crowd and a Friday night crowd, and every crowd really does have its own personality. And I think that also keeps things fun and exciting. It really does mean that every show is unique, and every show, hopefully you're able to connect with that particular audience and really make the most of that.
Let's talk about other female magicians. Right? Is there? I'm trying to think of who there is. I mean, in the film.
Sure, there's some great women in magic.
Who?
Even historically, I think people always think of magic as a male-dominated field, and it really has been, although I do think it's moving in a direction with more women getting involved. But even around the turn of the century, in the early 1900s, there's a terrific magician named Adelaide Herman, who was a woman, and she performed with her husband for many years, and then after her husband passed away, she took on the role of headlining the show. And so I think there really have been some wonderful women in magic in past generations and also currently working today.
So do you carry this deck of cards with you everywhere?
Pretty much.
You have some balls that you carry around and some rabbits. And
it's like you never know what's in the magical purse of mystery, all kinds of things.
Yeah. What do you, is there a trick that you're working on now, an illusion?
Sure. Actually, later today, I'll be meeting with Doug Lafarovich, who has been a great friend and magic consultant on the show, and we're meeting up to work on something new that we're putting into the show that we've been working on. But I just feel like it's so important to develop something fully and make sure that it really is ready before it goes into the show. So it's often a long process and a gradual process, but you want to make sure that it really is at that point where the audience, where it's ready for the audience to see it.
Yeah. When Lance Burton first started at the Monte Carlo, they built this incredible showroom. It was the Lance Burton showroom. It was built for his tricks, his illusions, and for him. You're working in a room where there's kind of mixed use, right? You have comedians, singers, adult shows, and magic.
Sure.
Right. So is that a hindrance, or because the room itself is not really set up for you, or is it something that you can easily modify? Wherever you are.
We are able to modify it, and the crew has been amazing in this. And even in the process of, we opened the show in May of 2018. And even since then, we've been able to make customizations to really make the show our own. We've added different LED graphics to the screen that are more customized to exactly what we're doing on stage, so that it really feels like the theater is the home of this show. And that's something that gradually over time we've been able to even change and work on, which has been fun.
So is your family surprised that you decided to go into magic? You have siblings?
I have two younger sisters. And my family has been, I'm really fortunate. They've been so supportive, and I'm so grateful for their support. Absolutely. I know it's an unconventional route going from Yale to magician, and my parents, who are both, they're both lawyers by background.
Dad, I have good news and bad news. Oh, what's the good news? Oh, I got into Yale University. Oh, you're going to be an attorney or a doctor? No, I'm going to be a magician.
Yeah, definitely not the conventional route. But you know, they always taught me growing up. My parents always said, do something that you really love, because if you love it, then you'll be motivated to work hard at it, and we know that you'll excel at it because you'll be working hard at it. And I think that's something that I really internalized and that really stuck with me is, okay, if you really do something that you care about, you know, you'll make it work because it's something that you're so passionate about.
Now, did you play you play poker or any card games?
You know, I don't really play many card games. You know, I've learned some basics, but I really focus on the card magic for the most part. Although people often joke, they'll say, "Oh, you know, I wouldn't want to play cards with a magician." But
right, but well, because I think it would be easy to you know, palm a card or find a token ace somewhere, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all the time about magicians not being allowed to, you know, gamble in casinos and.
Right.
You know,
yeah, you do hear about that, but you know, I think for me it's just about connecting with people. It's about the magic. And
who's your magic hero?
Oh, there are so many. Some of the magicians we talked about earlier, from Penn Teller to Lance Burton to David Copperfield and David Blaine, Tom and Janet Berner of Magicians Without Borders. They're a couple, a magician and mime couple, who spend most of the year traveling the world, performing magic in orphanages and refugee camps and places where people are facing some really difficult, some really challenging situations, and they spread hope and happiness through magic, and they've been really inspiring to me, and I've so admired and respected the work that they do. I've loved getting to work with them.
Well, it's a great thing, making people smile and making them happy every day. And you can catch Jen Kramer at the Westgate, Wednesday to Saturday, 5 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
Bring your family.
Yes, I'd love to have you there. Thanks for having me, Ed.
Thanks.
My daughter Dana fought a long battle with Crohn's disease before passing last year. Max has spent a lifetime scoring goals.
It's our goal to help the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation find a cure for this horrible disease, so no one else's child has to suffer like Dana did.
Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis may be unfamiliar to you, but there are currently over 3 million Americans suffering from both. Join Max and I in scoring our goal to find a cure.